Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and this is episode 350. Uh-oh. Applause.
Dun,
And
dun, dun,
and
dun. We need
and
theme music.
this is the Can Go to Hell episode. Now you're probably going, Rob, what does that mean? Well, my next guest, Brad Szollose, and I created a whole series of books called Can Go to Hell. So
Mhm.
I brought Brad back on the show so we can tell you all about the Can Go to Hell series in this episode. So, welcome, Brad, and let's just get down to business.
Thanks, Rob. I feel like we need a theme song, like from Kill Bill or something. Dun, dun, dun. And part of the reason is when you asked me to be a part of this, I was kind of blown away because it really started out with one book, and then it turned into three, and then four, because we kept seeing that this was like something that everybody was dealing with. And for those of you who don't know, we just launched the Can Go to Hell series. For the four books are the debt collectors, slumlords, HOA boards, and the IRS. And so these are major problems that not only has everyone else had to deal with, but you and I as entrepreneurs are definitely always rotating between debt collectors and the IRS. And that doesn't mean we have bad credit or we have horrible situations. It's just that these organizations take advantage of 90% of the population's not, I can't say ignorance, but they leave us uneducated. And so here we are, folks, solving problems in the real world now for you. And we became consumer advocates, Rob
Well,
and Brad, consumer advocates.
and for years, I mean, we're going back 20 years. I started writing letters, to help friends get their credit cards fixed or their credit scores. And
Yeah.
I never once back then thought, you know what, I should write a book. No, it just wasn't. And it was only until my daughter had a run in with, a debt collector calling her on the phone, and the debt was already past the statute of limitations anyway. But she got frustrated, and she just said, "You can go to hell." And I thought, that is a great title. Yeah, it's a little provocative. Maybe it'll turn some people off. Maybe it's polarizing.
Yeah.
Gets people to take notice. And it's
Yeah.
not like, hey, you know, you're gonna burn in hell. It's not what we're saying. It's just we want people to understand that they do have the ability to fight back, and we're gonna give them the ammo, the shield, the tools, and
Yeah.
every book has the template letters in there that they can follow to fight
Yeah.
their case.
Yeah, that was the thing that impressed me is, and I was shocked at how many of my family members and friends, I never reached out and prompted them and say, "Hey, get the book," but they started to share this information. They texted me and they're like, "I just bought all four of your books," and I realized this is so needed because you may not know this, folks, but they take advantage. All these organizations take advantage of our pure ignorance on all these subjects. I mean, we're going through some stuff right now where we're going back 10 years to find mistakes that the credit card companies have made on our credit reports. And I want everybody to understand something. If you and I make a mistake on our credit report or we talk about something, we don't get fined $1 million, okay? These organizations can get fined 5,000, 10,000, $1 million for tiny mistakes on your credit report that they don't report to you. Improper reporting because they're held to meticulous rules in the banking industry. And so they know you don't know these rules, or at least they think you don't. And so when they send you letters or they say they're coming after you, they may not even be allowed or licensed in your state to come after you. And they still come after you playing off of your ignorance. And as soon as you answer the wrong way, they have you. So you have to know how to really combat these people. I mean, that's the debt collectors can go to hell. we covered everything in there, including how to prepare for court, go to court and deal with things. So um, I find that one just blew my mind. And of course, it's the first in the series, so I'm just sort of like, oh, what did we uncover, Rob? It
And
was
it was
fun.
fun writing the books because, we do put our sarcasm in the books. We do, drip a little bit of stuff in there that people are like, "Oh, Rob, yeah, now the book has personality."
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted. We didn't want some dry textbook piece of garbage that people are gonna
Hmm.
pick up and go, "Oh," and then just toss it. We wanted something that's gonna pull them in, educate them,
Yeah.
give them the power to fight back, and yeah, the Debt Collector's book was the first one that I wrote and gave it to Brad, and Brad's like, "This is awesome." And, so then we started tweaking some things, and
Yeah.
Brad put his 2 cents in there, and we thought, there should be a series. So then
Yeah, what I thought was fun, Rob, is folks, as soon as you open the book, we obviously have quotes from other people, and then we have a forward by someone. But the way we start the book, I think, is a lot of fun because each of these books, we both had a story where either we or a family member got screwed over. And the debt collector one, it's like, I took Chase and another or credit card company and a bank to court, and I resolved everything, and I worked out a payment plan, but they had doubled my interest by the time we got to court. I mean, imagine you get to court, and let's say you owe 3 grand, but by the time you get there, you owe $6,500. It's like, wait a minute, how did this get accumulated the way it did? And they're just throwing money at you. So I won the court case. I want you to know this. And when I checked my credit report, they wiped out everything that I had accumulated for 25 years. It's like I did not exist.
yeah,
And I was starting over at like what, 55 years of age, starting brand new credit. This is the game they play with us.
yeah, and this is why we put in the back of the books template letters that you can follow, not only to negotiate a plan, but possibly even reduce the amount that you owe. And if it's not yours, then you can fight back and say, "Look, this is the proof that I have that this is not my debt." And
Yeah.
so, you know, don't be surprised if you're using these books, especially the debt collectors books, that you can reduce debt. That hey, listen, I'm not telling you to go out and rip off credit card companies or any of these people. If the debt's legitimately yours, fine. But if you don't have the ability to pay it back, at least then negotiate.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that some of the people who didn't like the title, I think they think that we're trying to be enemies and fight and battle. No, we're following the law. We're following the rules, and they consistently break the rules because you don't know. You as the consumer do not know. You
Well, and
just
and and
they're
that
not allowed to
was
call you on the phone. Did you know that? You
right.
know?
That if you tell them stop calling me, they have to do that. If you have it in writing and you tell them cease and desist, they have to stop. They can only communicate with you in writing.
Yeah.
But the debt collector's book is just the start. So if you have a crummy landlord that doesn't repair anything, the slumlords can go to hell book is going to really help you. And
Yeah.
so here's the thing: is that the reason we compiled all this information in the 4 books is because those 4 are the biggest complaints everywhere.
Yeah.
Debt collection, slumlords, HOA boards, and the IRS. Well, the IRS is the biggest debt collector ever because they're coming after you for taxes that you may or may not owe. So
Yeah.
you gotta learn to defend yourself. Now, I've personally never been part of an HOA, but I know a lot of people who have, and HOAs can be worse than slumlords. You know,
They can.
the Karens that are on these HOA boards will nitpick you to death. with fines and tickets. And so if you live in an HOA community and you feel like you're being picked on,
Well,
grab that HOA board and go to hell.
here's a good example. Okay, between the slumlords book and the HOA boards, I'm sitting there going, what story should I tell? I had so many, especially living in New York City. I used to live in one of these railroad car apartments, and if you don't know what that is, folks, it's literally like being on a train. So to go from the master bedroom to the kitchen and the bathroom and the living room, you have to walk through all the other bedrooms. So nobody has any privacy, for God's sake. So uh, you'll have the master bedroom, the guest bedroom, and you might have a little side bedroom, and then you have a living room, and you have a kitchen or kitchenette, as they call it, and then a bathroom. And a family's supposed to live in this boxcar thing, this railroad car apartment. And I lived in one, and the landlord never installed a stove. I spent Thanksgiving with a heating plate and a turkey sandwich in New York City in 1984. And also in New York, they do not turn on the heat until the law says they have to. So it could drop down to 30 degrees at night and they won't turn the heat on inside the apartment. Well, it doesn't go on until October 15th or whatever, October 31st. We're not turning it on yet. So you could be freezing and go through all that. As far as HOA boards go, I actually am dealing with one right now. I won't shout this too loud, but we rent here a house in an HOA community, and uh, basically, it's a fourth level of government, and they were going to fine us for wind chimes that were on the tree out front. And we're like, what? What wind chimes? We didn't know what they were talking about. So we went outside, and there's these little wind chimes that had been hanging there from the previous owner, which means it's been there for 2 years. Been there for 2 years. And they have a crew that comes out, I guess it's 7 a.m. Okay. And I went out one morning and I caught this guy taking photos in front of my neighbor's, garage door. And they took a picture of our garage door. And evidently there was a dent in the garage door that I had never seen in my life. And they made the HOA made the owner of the house put in a new garage just because, I mean, think of the expense that a person has to have to come to the aesthetic choice, that they have to just get rid of the garage door because it has a little dent, a foot-sized dent, which I never caused. Someone had evidently kicked that part and put a dent in there. And so instead of just knocking the dent out like you would with a car, they said, nah, replace the whole thing. And so I'm sure that was 3 grand minimum. So the HOA is just, they'll walk around your neighborhood and go, oh, your grass is too high or whatever.
Yeah, and when we reached out to get forwards, Eric Ridley wrote brilliant forwards for Debt Collectors Can Go to Hell, and also the IRS Can Go to Hell.
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing. A lot of people would review the first 3 books, The Debt Collectors, Slumlords, and HOA, but they didn't want to touch the IRS book for
Yeah.
fear of retribution. Here's the
Yeah.
thing. The IRS is not going to come to your door. They're going to write you letters. That's
Yep.
their MO. So if you get something in the mail, you have time to address it, to fight with it. And so you go to the IRS Can Go to Hell book, you pull out the template letter that matches what you think you need, because we explain when to use the template letters and how to use them. And
Yeah.
so you can either copy it from the book, or you can go to cangotohell.com and download the templates. And then you change as you need to, you know. But
Getting back to the forward, I reached out, folks, to someone that I thought would be eager to write the forward. I'm not going to mention names, but he's been hounded by the IRS probably for 50 years, and he sends them like a $20 bill every month just to kind of give them the middle finger. And I thought he would be the guy who would be like, you know, something, the IRS, whatever. And he said, no, I'm going to bow out on this one. It's like, okay, all right. But yeah, Eric stepped up and gave us incredible forwards for both the debt collectors can go to hell and the IRS can go to hell
Yeah.
in the series. And by the way, we're not giving the middle finger to the IRS or any of these groups. We're just showing you how to work with them and catch them on their stuff. They said, I don't know what the statistic is. I think it's something like 90% of the time, between 70 and 90% of the time, the IRS is incorrect in their assessment. Now, wouldn't you want to write to this organization and say, hey, um, I think you made a mistake here, and here's my proof.
Mhm.
And so we're here to provide problem-solving solutions that also fall into the realm of legalized, methodologies that you can use. I mean, these are simple templates. These are simple letters that just basically force them to follow their own rules. That's really what it is. We're
Yeah, and
forcing them to follow their own rules.
a lot of times with the IRS, a lot of time your taxes and whatnot goes through a computer before it even sees human eyes,
Yeah,
and it could get rejected for whatever reason. And so, just arm yourself with the right information that you can fight back, and because look, even if they're trying to fine you $100 or $400, and maybe you think, well, I just write the check. That's what they want you to do.
yes,
Why not
yes,
save some money and just write the darn letter? All it's going to cost you is a postage stamp and maybe the time to write the letters.
yeah,
But with every situation, whether it be debt collectors, slumlords, HOA, or the IRS, you really want to take the time to educate yourself. And that's what we've become,
yeah,
consumer advocacy stewards, really. We're helping you not only learn the law, protect yourself, but we're showcasing the experiences that we have in the books to make your lives easier.
yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the other two young ladies who actually wrote the forwards for the other books. And Jennifer Stewart, she is friends not only with me, but I noticed her in the real estate arenas and getting loans for people and things like this. She was friends with friends of mine who were highly successful, and I reached out to her and I said, "Hey, would you like to write the forward to slumlords can go to hell?" And she goes, "Oh my God, yeah, I have so much experiences with that. When I was first starting out and I had a child, and this landlord would not do what they were supposed to do, and evidently the toilet upstairs had been leaking, and she had feces coming through the ceiling. Yeah, gross. And the landlord wouldn't do anything. So this is another book that is so needed for those of you who are living in a not so great, apartment building, and the landlord's not really doing their job. They're just taking your money. You are a paycheck to them.
Mhm.
And this will help you fight back. Yes, they're going to hate your guts because you're going to force them to
Well,
not be so cheap.
right,
Yeah.
and not every landlord is a slumlord. There are some really good landlords out there, but this book puts all the shitty slumlords on notice.
Yeah.
We're arming your tenants with information that will protect them and turn you into a better landlord.
Yes.
And same with HOA.
Yeah.
HOA boards. They're we writing these books. We were told, Rob, I'm in a brilliant and a great HOA board. Great. Go to YouTube, type in HOA boards. You know how many videos
Oh,
are out there that curse HOA
yeah.
members because not just members, the board members.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know, just
Terry Wildman wrote a fantastic forward for us. She's had this experience, and her daughters had this experience. They are not kind uh, at all. When you get into a bad HOA, you'll find out very quickly. Um, Yeah, it's not fun. We weren't joking when we say they want your grass a certain height. I know an HOA board that on the trash day, they wanted everybody's garage doors open, wide open all day. Now, people go to work for 8 hours. So imagine all your goods and the beautiful things you have in there being exposed to everybody. I mean, that's mental illness to force the entire neighborhood to have their garage doors open. Why would you do that?
Yeah,
Control.
or they give you 1 hour to return your trash cans, to your backyard after they get the trash collected, and then it's like people are at work.
Yeah.
They come home and get the trash can. That would bug the crap out of me. I would
Well,
have to.
the videos that drive me nuts on YouTube are of the guy who comes into the yard and knocks on the door, and he gave this one guy a hard time, and you could tell there was a little racism in this, because the HOA board member was a white guy, and the owner of the new house was black, and he was kind of like, well. Oh, why are you here? And he goes, well, I own the place. And he's like, oh, okay. It's like he couldn't possibly own this place. And then he complained about the height of the guy's chairs around his patio furniture. And he goes, you better get off my property, man. Get out of here. And the guy was like, you don't have the right to tell me. These are power mongering people who had nothing better to do in high school except keep their mouth shut
Right.
and sit in the back of the room and study. And now they have a little bit of power, and that doesn't mean all HOA boards are like this. Good friend of mine, he had to deal with an HOA board for years. He eventually got so frustrated, he became president and changed the rules. He made things a little more lax. But oh
Well,
Lord,
I've seen stories where people lose their homes because the HOA kept finding them, and then finally put a
yeah,
lien on their house, and it was like, your house should never be taken away from you.
yeah.
know?
Do you
Uh,
remember that? I don't know if you remember that story. There was a woman who she was very, very sick. She had heart issues, and the HOA board kept sending her fines, and the fines got up into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And here they were mailing it to the wrong address, and they were evicting her. And she goes, "I never got a single notice. What are you talking about?" This is the kind of power play they do. It's just ridiculous. But yeah,
this is, I've written many books. Brad has as well, and so we came together to get these books out there, and you can find them on Amazon. They're only in paperback. We're not doing Kindle. So you want the book, buy the book. And I think that there's so much material in the books that if you buy all four of them, you're gonna be so educated on how to fight back.
yeah,
You're gonna be, a consumer advocacy warrior. But even if you just buy one at a time, maybe you're having some problems with your slumlord. Great.
yeah,
That book is going to help you. Um, Same with the HOA boards. But the collection started because of debt collectors.
yeah,
And a lot of people right now, because of the economy, are getting a little behind. They're struggling.
yeah.
And they're frustrated.
Yeah. And don't be embarrassed. I think the biggest thing that people go through is they feel embarrassed that they got into this problem, with debt collectors and oh, I owe them money, we keep getting pounded. Yeah, you owe them money maybe, but you don't owe double the interest like I did. It's like let me at least try to pay it off in a way that I can.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing I want to mention this, I had so much fun designing these books
Oh, they
because
turned out awesome.
thank you. When I first started this, Rob goes, "It has to be like a logo, and we have to do it this way." And I showed him one page. He goes, "Nope, nope, I don't like it." And then I was like, "Wait, wait, wait, just let me show you my vision." And so I did all three, and I made it sure it had a cool icon. This one has a burning credit card, dipped into lava there, and each one has its own icon on here. And then I started to lay out the inside, and I wanted it to have this kind of really cool. Each chapter would start with a nice icon and a name, and then a quote. And what was really funny, this is a little bit of kismet. I love this with me and Rob. I had picked out a bunch of quotes and I was putting them in the books and I was all excited. And then Rob goes, "Oh, wait, I have quotes." Like we're 2 months in. He goes, "Wait, I have quotes." And he sends them over. Guess what? They were the same quotes. I was grabbing quotes because we were thinking alike. It's like I got to find a quote that fits this chapter, and I got to find this. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. We
But
had some fun nights.
we kept the branding pretty much the same, where the can go to hell is, but each book is a different color. And so when you pick up the book, you're going to see that they're very similar, similar layout, similar everything. It's just we wanted to focus each book on a different subject. And we could have made one real thick book, but not everybody needs all that information. So
Right.
we made it so that, and I think the IRS book is what, 200 pages?
Oh yeah, that one's
That
thick,
one's
and it
the
has a lot
thickest
more
one.
templates. Yeah,
But
and it
here's
has
the
one.
thing. Here's the thing about the IRS. You ever try to read their codes? It's like 70,000 pages of bullcrap. We simplified it into 200 pages.
Well, they did that on purpose, that, and they want you confused. I love how we open each book. We talk about our own experiences dealing with these organizations,
Mhm.
and
Look
we
at
just
that.
had a little
We have
little
our glorious pictures in there and everything.
yeah. Rob and I do use the same hair gel. Just want to let you know that. Um, yeah, but I had a lot of fun, like giving you imagery that would capture the chapter. But I think the most fun was once you start laying it out, and I'm reading and going through and saying, "Oh, well, here's our experience, here's my experience, here's Rob's experience," and giving you something that isn't like this, like, here, just do this.
Yeah.
These have solid meat in them that can help you fight back. I got boxing gloves for this chapter because which is a lot of fun. Not that was not a deep dive into the icons. But I do like to I like to make my icons at the beginning a little witty, sometimes makes you think. Knowledge is power. This one was funny. A stack of books and a cup of coffee. So uh, you start reading and having fun with this. And I got to give a shout out to a couple of my friends who got a chance to review the books early, and they were just like, "Oh, this is really fun, Brad." Dion Burrell and I had my friend Susie Snyder from high school. They took a look at this. They're like, "Wow, this is really good." And they all say the same thing. The templates at the back is
Mhm.
really what made them go, "Oh, I cannot believe you gave us everything, almost like on a silver platter." Uh, and yeah, here's a fun icon as well. Got the lightning bolt for that chapter. Uh, yeah.
And as we were promoting this over the last weekend, the uh, the IRS book went number one new release,
Yeah.
which was which was impressed me because I thought the debt collectors one would hit first, uh, but the IRS did, and that was the last book we produced. You know,
Yeah.
and we had, like we said early on, we had the first three basically ready to go,
Yeah.
and we teased the images out, and someone says, "Well, you need an IRS book." So we got on it and we produced that one really quickly, but it turned out really nice, and
Yeah.
I'm amazed at the feedback that we're getting from these books early on, and the people that wanted to be involved. And I'm looking for the one um, I posted. Let's see here.
Yeah. I was
Terry
surprised.
Terry had posted on LinkedIn. Loved reading and writing the forward to the HOA book. She said so many great insights in the book, and you know, they not only get our sense of humor throughout the book, but they also, you know, see the seriousness of the book and how it can help so many people.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, big shout out to the people who gave us the pre-reviews. Dion Bennell, Susan Stahl. We had Tony Stark Polici. I hope I'm saying that right. Polici. Who else did we have do some of the previews?
I think Mike Schmidlin might have done one.
Yeah,
Mine are in the back. I feel like,
I'm
but
going
here's the
through
thing:
it.
is that
Randy Chaffee. Thank you, Randy.
Randy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Randy Chaffee. Michael. Yeah. Schmidlin.
And
Yeah.
we started these books, what, December of 2024.
Yeah.
So we were able to create a product, 4 books for our audience, for you, the listener, 4 books in 5 months. Get them out on Amazon, and people love them. And,
I was.
this is just one of those things where everything clicked together, and I trusted Brad on the graphics and everything else. And here's the thing about me is that I've produced a lot of books. I've had control and basically how everything started from start to finish. And so Brad is the only one I would probably trust to give control over everything. So it was
Well,
a
well, it
case
was
of me
funny.
dropping my ego to get these books out.
It was funny as hell in the beginning because, folks, I've worked with Rob on little things like he'll send me something his client needs real quick, and then to do the books. Now that's a big deal because you may not know this. You have to design the interior. You have to make sure the type is laid out a certain way. We have to look for what's called a widow, and that's where a line is one word. You have to pull that line. You have to tighten up the type on the next line so that the that word pops back up onto a full line. That's a lot of work. And then you got to lay it out. You got to decide which is going to be bold text, how you're going to do, steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. How's that going to line up? Things like that. And so in the beginning, Rob's like, why'd you do this? And where's this? And then we're using Dropbox, which is like hell on wheels.
Oh, and
Um,
I'm used to using Word. He's using a different program, and I'm like, "What the hell?"
what
And
is
then
wrong with
I try to
Brad?
convert it to PDF. It's not working. He goes, "Oh, yeah, I just quick send it over to you. No problem." You go, "Oh, Rob, it's in Dropbox. Fuck you." I'm like, "What?"
And all I can
So it's
picture,
just,
all I can picture is you with two fists in the air.
uh, you know,
Dropbox.
but that is the process of creating books. It's
Yeah,
not always easy,
yeah,
but when you have someone that you can trust that kind of knows how you think, it makes system failures much easier to deal with.
yeah. Because at one point I knew you hated Dropbox with a passion,
I
so
still
I just emailed stuff to you. It was easier. I go ignore Dropbox. I'm going to load
oh, and
everything back up
Dropbox
there.
is screaming, "Your box is full. Your box pays more money." And I'm like,
Yeah,
"My box is not full."
yeah. They count the full size of the shared box that you have from other clients in there.
So I'm
I hate
going in
that
and
guy.
going, "Wait, I haven't dealt with this person in years. Delete, 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 delete."
Yep,
And then my box became empty again. I was
it's the
like,
greatest. Uh, yeah, so I mean, working together for the first time, really working together, this was a lot of fun because you were able to make changes on your end, or you update something, or you go through the book and you go, "Hey, I changed this." You'd circle it in red and send it over. And I pride myself, I'm a boomer, so I feel that I have to do my work perfectly the first time. So I make sure everything was. At a high level for Rob, so that when he went in, he'd be kind of like, "Oh, I don't have to touch too much." And I made him double check stuff. I go, "Please, I need you to go check this." And he found one big error on the back of one of the books, and it was a simple, fix. So it's one of those things when you're working with a partnership. It was huge, yes. When you're working with a partner, I think what um, whether it's a writing partner, business partner, or whatever, you really should be trying to up your game to impress them
Right.
with your work. It's kind of like being in a jazz ensemble. If you watch good jazz musicians, they're looking at each other, complimenting each other, trying to add to each other, and then when each one gets a solo, you sit back and you watch how good
And
they
this
get. So, yeah,
this collaboration throughout the whole process reminded me, and if I went back 20 years, about the teamwork of Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield. You know, but in the background, there's also Les Hewitt, who I interviewed long ago on this podcast, who was helped those guys with the power focus. And so here we are, Brad and I, working on these books, and it's not just one book; it's four of them at a time.
yeah,
And so when I find something, I'm like, okay, we need to fix this, this, and sometimes it doesn't pop out at me right away, but you know, we took the time to make sure that 95% of the errors were fixed, and I'm sure
yeah,
people will find something, but it was the collaboration
yeah,
that I think these books are going to do very well because they have not only both our names on it, but they're like I said, they're designed to help so many people.
yeah. And I think that was the thing that impressed me the most, because I can tell you over the years I've been tearing my hair out. I've been going, look at what this group is doing to this group. And it may not necessarily be in the four categories we're in, but I got just so tired of sitting there going, we need a consumer advocacy group that can stop this, or at least give people the tools to stop this. I mean, look around us. We have chemicals in our food that can kill us. Finally, we get somebody in office who sees that. You and I are sitting there going, debt collectors are taking such advantage of people because they don't know the rules. They don't know the law. They don't know the difference between lawful and unlawful. They just don't. And so you're getting into a realm where they hope they can take advantage of you, and we're kind of sitting here going, no, you can't do that anymore. We're going to stop it. And the internet has helped us.
Right.
That's really the
Well,
truth.
and here's the thing about the internet is that any legitimate search you can find anybody. Debt collectors, a lot of times, they'll find somebody with the exact name as yours. Might not be, it might be
It's
middle
not me.
initial, might be the middle initial might be wrong, but they don't care. It's close enough,
Yeah,
and they'll start sending you letters. Same with the IRS. Sometimes they
yeah,
make mistakes. And
yeah,
so they're mailing you letters and it's not even you. It's somebody with your name, misidentification, what and now you gotta prove who you are. But look, the internet, great
yeah.
discovery. Go in there and search. Oh, I found this other guy. Let me go. Hey, look,
Yeah.
you're not after me, you're after this guy.
I had an ex. I got to tell this story. I had an ex when we were going out. I got her a phone, and it's under my master plan.
Mhm.
And it turns out that cell phone number was registered to someone who just did not pay their bills, and was, I guess, I don't know, just whoever they were. Well, I started getting calls, or she did, uh, from debt collectors. And finally, one day, I just picked up the phone. I go, is it possible in your mind to know that this is a different person? And they wanted our social security numbers, which you never give to a stranger on the phone. So guess what I did, Rob? I got him riled up. I got him mad. I called him every day for a month, and I'd get past his secretary, and I'd yell at him. I go, "Hey, Roger, is this you?" He go, "I still don't owe you any money," and I'd hang up. And
Reverse
then
harassment.
yeah, reverse harassment. And I would disguise my voice because his secretary was told, and I'm sorry if you don't like the term secretary anymore, but administrative assistant, let's put it that way. I would disguise my voice, because I can do impersonations. So I would call up as different people, different numbers. I'd hit the #70 so they wouldn't see my number, and I'd get past her every time. And I go, Roger, I don't owe you any money. And he finally took her off the list, but he was chasing, us for no reason. And they'll do this. Yeah, he was going by the phone number. So wherever the phone number went, he would attack. And we didn't owe any money. And this is kind of thing that they'll do, folks.
Well, and then
Um,
the thing is it goes to all 4 books. It's a numbers game, and they know that they can continue to do what they do until someone stops them. But in that case, they've collected hundreds of thousands of dollars,
yeah,
and it's wrong. But
yeah, it's wrong to do that.
yeah,
And you know what I like that's in the books is it shows you how to prepare for court and what to do in court. So those of you who are afraid, oh, I better pay this because I'm going to go to court. No, I mean, imagine this. This is just one of the things that we point out in the book. Sometimes they have no jurisdiction over you, and they have to prove it. And if they don't, your letters that you send that we recommend will stop that.
right.
It'll say, well, you have to do this, you have to do that.
And
You're
it
breaking your own rules.
and it provides a paper trail,
Right.
which means that if you do go to court, you have paperwork that says, "Hey, look, this is what I've tried to do to fix this situation." And the judge is going to look at them and go, "And you didn't help? You didn't comply? What's wrong
Yep.
with you?" So,
If they break any of the rules that the financial oversight committees uh, have put on them, and you let them know, they can get fined big. I mean, big fines against them, and it's little tiny things like a penny off. If they say your debt is this and they're a penny off, that's a violation.
mhm,
If they start coming after you and phone calling you to death and you say, you can't call me anymore, that's a violation. And you can get them on all these things.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, the most of the time though, people are just going to use the letters so that they don't have to pay what this person says that they owe, or they're going
Yeah.
to negotiate a fee that's lower. Yeah, if it gets to the point where they have to go to court or they're countersuing, then you can ask for more money. But the majority of the people, they just want the situation over. They don't want to deal
Yeah.
with it anymore. They
Yeah.
just, and so we're going to help them out, or the books
Yep.
are going to help them out.
Yeah.
But sometimes in the case, you're going to have to get a lawyer that goes beyond what the books are capable of. But 95% of the time, the books are going to help solve your problem.
Yeah. It's so true. I mean, imagine somebody coming after you that you don't have a contract with, but
Mhm.
they're pretending they have a contract with you. Imagine that. Would you put up with that? That's what's happening. In 9 out of 10 cases, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
you can find the books on Amazon.
they're the greatest books ever written, I
You can
swear.
also go to cangotohell.com and
Mhm.
get the whole series. You can also download template letters. You can even buy some merch if you wanted to. But, we want people to understand that these books are here to help. You just have to purchase them, or borrow them from someone who already has
Yeah,
them.
we're big fans of people helping people, so, that's why it is. I guess we have what's called old-fashioned values, Rob.
Yeah, they don't teach that anymore. And that's the problem is that even in school, high school, they don't teach you, finances. They don't teach you how to, write checks anymore. People are like, "Well, what's a check?" "Okay, we'll pay everything with credit card." Great.
Yeah,
Here's the thing, and this is not in the book. If you're going to use a credit card, use it right. Don't use a debit card for anything. Use a
yeah,
credit card because that way you're protected a lot better. If you
yeah,
use a debit card, they have direct access to your checking account and they can clear you out right away. So keep that in mind. But
yeah,
also, with your wherever you live, if it's a slumlord, document everything. You know, when you walk into the place, when you sign the lease, document, document, take pic. We all
Oh
have
yeah.
cameras. We all have phones. Take photos of everything before you
And
move in.
back them up on a hard drive or on your
Yeah,
laptop or desktop, because we've moved into places and took photos of everything, and then the management company will come back and say, oh well, this is not good, we're going to charge you for this, and we're like, we have the photo from when we first moved in. That baseboard was already broken, you know um, and we do our best to take care of any property we are in. We get color match paint, things like that. We take care of things really well here, so it's just an added layer of protection. Take every photo of everything and do a video walkthrough. That's another thing that we do,
yeah.
to
And
make
if
sure
you're going
everybody
to
knows.
move into an HOA, before you do so, why don't you talk to some of the neighbors that are already there? What's their experience with the HOA?
And
And
if they
and
roll their eyes,
if it's, yeah, if they're rolling their eyes and they're telling you don't, or they're giving you warning signs, maybe it's time to look
yeah,
for someplace else.
absolutely, 100%.
So please go buy the books, arm yourself, and you know you can get them on Amazon. You can get them on through us directly, cangotohell.com. And if you have questions, comments, concerns, let us know. And
Please,
we'll see you guys on the next episode.
we're here for
Adios.
you, man. Thank you, Rob.